All right. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Jack Motlanthe here. Oh my goodness. Xavier, we didn't even close the door.
We feel too comfortable, yeah?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. This is Democracy 101. My name is Jack Motlanthe, and I'm going to be hanging out with a very good friend of mine who's an educated, very educated young man, and he's self-educated, which is pretty interesting. And you know, Xavier, you put together this little document a couple of days ago, but we'll get into that. We've got a whole host of things that we need to talk about. And we'll be hanging out for the next 2 hours in as our election special, because we felt, since we have been putting all of this great stuff together since the beginning of the year, why would we skip the day where everyone actually goes to the polls? So, Mr. Bapoo, how are you doing, sir?
Some stations are still getting ready to open.
Yeah.
But people are in the queue with their coffees. So you got to respect that, man.
Yeah, no, that's I respect people that are willing to get off their backside and actually do something about the situation that we're in.
100%.
Let me ask you this though, since you are hanging out with me for the next 2 hours. Have you made up your mind as to who you're voting for? I'm not going to ask you who. In fact, let me do this. Let me do it this way. I'll ask you at the end of the show.
No stress.
And if you are open enough to share, then
I'm 100% decided. I just need to put marks on the ballot.
Okay, cool.
So that's where I'm standing. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I've also made up my mind.
Oh, that's good.
I've also made up my mind. And we'll decide. I'll decide if I want to tell everyone at the end of the show, though.
It's a good thing to do.
It. You think
you
it's
might
a good
inspire
thing
someone?
Maybe
this vote is my secret thing. It doesn't. I never understood. You know, Amandla.
Okay.
You know,
right. So
we shouldn't hide. If we're voting for anyone other than ANC, we shouldn't hide.
We shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
So I heard this morning when I was making my way into the studio.
Yeah.
They've distributed about 500 election, observers.
Yeah.
And volunteers in KZN.
The army is also deployed in KZN.
Yes.
I think 2,800 troops around the country, but most are in KZN.
You know, so I was thinking to myself, man, like as volatile of a place as KZN is. So I had the opportunity to interview
Chris Papas
and Sandile Mnigati, sorry. And those two gentlemen came in here and we had a chat, bro. And I discovered that, you know, Chris Papas sometimes travels without security.
You know, it's very common for DA members and leaders like John Steenhuisen as well. Sometimes they do travel without security. When I met John Steenhuisen, he was only followed by his PA. That was it. Just the two of them in the car. So there were no bodyguards and things. And you see that with a lot of the leaders that are in the DA, whether they're in Western Cape, whether they're in Durban.
I think that is a great example of chilled leadership. You know what I mean? People that are actually willing to not necessarily put themselves in the line of danger, but put themselves in everyday people's shoes. Like, it's not about using all the tools and little playthings at your disposal. It's more so about actually making it clear that,
Yeah.
you are just like everyone else.
In high trust societies like Europe, it's very common to see politicians take the bus or take bicycles
But
to
you
work.
just that term is very important.
High trust.
High trust.
So, I speak to a few of the ambassadors from Europe that are in South Africa. And, some of them in Cape Town, who consuls and things that are in Cape Town, will actually take the My City buses. No security involved.
The thing is, though, those countries have proper infrastructure.
Yeah.
Like it's not just random taxis driving around with holes in the bottom of the car, or like infrastructure that doesn't make sense. Like, there was a time for like a good 10 years, I wouldn't be able to travel anywhere without bumping into a Patco bus that was stuck on the side of the road.
Oh my. Yeah, I remember those times.
Like every day, without fail, as sure as the sun will shine,
on the M1,
there will be a Patco bus parked somewhere on the side of the road because of some random technical problem. And there's these poor people inside the bus who are trying to just get to work, and they can't do that either.
High trust society and the right infrastructure.
And it becomes unbearable to me how untrusting of one another we are. You know what I mean? In this country.
Yeah.
And we blame a lot of things like the legacy of apartheid and how how the government, the ANC government, has kind of made us untrusting of
politicians in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes it seem as if we are this disenfranchised group of people who just can't get their shit together.
Lost people in the desert.
Oh man.
But it's not true. You gotta there's groups of pockets of success and pockets of excellence that you find in our country. And I mean, the private sector is one. I'm not sure if you know, but observers.
Tell me.
Yeah, observers in the election are not just the parties and things. There's at least 70 NPOs, NGOs, NPOs that are involved in watching the election.
Right.
From faith-based communities, non-political. They're going out there. They've got their own volunteers at the voting stations. They're just observing the vote, making sure everything's fine. So we've got a very strong democracy. There's no reason not to trust it. There are some issues, but they are small pockets. Most of the time, we've got a very good democracy that works. And a lot of people are working towards making it work.
So we've got a comment here from Terence Cameron, who says, I think it was attached to the conversation we were having a little earlier about government officials not needing security. She says, no, they don't need security. I met JP on Friday without security, but it might be risky if they should win this election.
No, he's
something to think about, right?
Yeah, he's absolutely right. We have seen, some political parties, and I'm not going to name names, are not scared of their, lower level members killing each other. We haven't seen much of that this election, and I'm thankful for that, especially in KZN. There's been one or two cases of threats and things, and shootings, etc. but much less than our previous elections. So something is changing.
Yeah.
There's hope for that.
Yeah.
But if the DA wins the elections, I do feel they should up their security. Not that I'm saying they should have blue light brigades, but it's sensible. There might be a lot of dissent from loyal supporters of other parties as to how and why the DA won the election. If that happens,
Yeah, look, man, at the end of the day, it shocks me that public servants somehow feel the need to have security in the first place. The political assassination, excuse me, in this country are what they are, and it blows my mind that for whatever reason we get to a point in this country where jostling for power, jostling for control, all of these things ultimately end up with people being killed and the work ultimately not being done.
Correct. Right.
Which it's insane to me, because at the end of the day, we still need to live in this country, right?
Yeah.
And whether you like a political opponent or not, whether you guys can see eye to eye or not, I think it's the hallmark of intelligence if you guys can sit down and have a genuine discourse about whatever it is, whatever the problem might be, and come up with some sort of solution. And I'm sure you know the phrase, after a negotiation, if everyone walks away having lost something, then it was a great negotiation.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But
you're not going to make everyone happy all at the same time. 100%. It's not happening.
You'll never do that, especially in a country like South Africa, where there are so many different interests involved. You have to respect each other, but nobody's going to get everything. But on that note, Jack, we don't often talk about Parliament and what goes on there. There's a nice place to eat there. I haven't been myself, but I was invited a few times. And I'll tell you, EFF MPs will sit next to DA MPs and have lunch. We have that kind of respect. So I don't know what happens when they leave Parliament, but they do have lunches and things together. They do contact each other on WhatsApp together. There is a little bit of civility between them. So I think we must respect that as well. It's not often talked about.
Do you think it's like, when musicians that grow up in like desolate places and all of this stuff, and there's some sort of gang violence within that area.
Yeah.
Once that musician makes it out of it, he has to keep a couple of goons around him. And every now and again, when they get into a bit of a back and forth with anyone, the one of the goons will want to get active.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's always
boss,
one guy.
Let me get in front of this problem for you, and then you won't have to deal with it. Do you think it could be one of those things?
It probably is. The ANC is a huge organization. I mean, huge.
Yeah.
Well over 500,000 people that are active in the ANC, maybe even double that. So, there's maybe 100, 200 members that are not so good. If they're not cracking jugs on people's heads, they're doing something else. But yeah, it's small individual groups. It's not the entire organization itself. Even the EFF, it might interest you to know, I attended 4 EFF protests where I was in with them. I wasn't protesting.
What were you guys protesting?
No, I wasn't protesting with them. I was just watching them, and I took videos, and I even attended the only Rise Mzansi protest outside the JSE.
Okay.
It was a joke.
You see, Rise Mzansi are an interesting bunch.
They are. They've got that.
I've in all my days, I've never heard of anyone protesting at the JSE.
No, there is. Never. The EFF has done it a number of times.
Is it?
A lot of times.
Okay, then I'm clearly not paying attention.
The difference is when the EFF does it, they block off Mod Street. When Rise Mzansi does it, they block off the pavement. It's a big difference.
Xavier is such an asshole. That's my God. That's so mean.
That's the difference. But I was there. I took pictures. I put it up on Twitter and things.
Right.
But you gotta be mindful of the fact we're not in an unsafe position politically,
right?
But there is an element of risk. There are issues. So walking around without security is admirable. It should be done, but it's not always possible. We must be realistic.
Because the thing is, like a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about this on Gareth's show, and he was like saying that these politicians should drive around in a bajaj. And I agree, because it's not like we're gonna run them over or whatever. Let them drive in the bajaj. Let them change gears like this. You know what I mean? Like they're operating a forklift or something. Let them get to work and back, and then we'll be fine. In fact, if the bajaj becomes the official car of politicians in this country, we will. When you're driving down the road, you'll give them space, because you know that tiny little thing. He needs to get to work. He's got some work to do.
But I don't want to be, anti-obesity. I myself am 100 kilos. I drove in one of those cars. If it takes a left turn and you're sitting on the left, it's not so safe.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to punish them that badly. At least get them a Corolla. It's okay.
Oh, man. Slippery Pickle in the comments says, make politicians afraid again. I think that's a good idea.
That's an interesting
I love that. I love, but not like physically afraid. Like they need to just understand that they were deployed, because that's the term now, right? They were deployed by us to make this country a better place. Like we entrusted them with the governance of our cities, of our provinces, of our country, and they need to take that obligation seriously. But they need to humble themselves to understand that they were put in that position by everyday working South Africans.
It's interesting you say that, Jack, because there are a few parties that have risen now, some new, some not new, and they've got a very strong focus on what is called servant mentality.
Okay.
That doesn't mean coming to your house, washing your dishes, and washing your clothes like some parties were doing during the election season. So servant mentality is basically, you're in position in government to serve the people, not to serve yourself.
Yep.
Which we've lost in many ways across the parties that are currently in parliament. A lot of them are doing work, but they're not always serving the people. They're serving the government more than the people. So I think we've lost that, and it's nice to see new parties on the ballot that are, very focused on servant mentality. Whether they'll do it or not depends on whether we give them a chance.
Right.
We might vote for one of these parties and they end up being more self-serving than the current parties. So it's a risk. But yeah, we got to hope for the best and take them by their word. I think that's the most important. Yeah. There's no other way to test some of these new parties than to take them by their word.
Yeah. So for those of you who are joining us either via Facebook, X, or on YouTube, please send us your thoughts and comments. We'd love to know what you are up to, and if you're comfortable in letting us know who you are voting for. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what people think, because I think we also have these conversations in silos. Like it will be me, Xavier, Gareth there in the corner having a chat, and we over intellectualize things and look at it from the top down. And then you'll have Tsepo, Bafana, and Sipo over there in some random corner as well. It's almost as if we're having these disjointed conversations in different parts of the country. Yeah. And I'd love to hear what some people, not even some people, I'd love to hear what people think in general about this year's elections, because the voter apathy has been one of the major conversations that have been happening in the country. In fact, the guy that brought me to the office this morning, he's one of those people who have given up. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
He's like, what's the point of voting? Wada. And I was like, my guy, there's a lot of ways to affect change, right? Like, it's funny how the people that will be the first ones to jump up and say, voting is pointless, we might as well not do it. They don't know who their ward councillor is.
Yeah.
They don't know. Like the police station that is in your neighborhood. Who's the head cop in that police station? Do you know?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Station commander.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You don't know who your station commander is. So it feels as if a lot of people just don't want to put in the work.
Look, you could say that. You could say that initiative and motivation to be active in our democracy is lacking beyond voting day. So this is one of the days where people are most active in democracy. We sit in there in lines. We might even say hello to each other in a line. We might even say, hey, who are you voting for?
Yeah.
But we don't carry these conversations across. And that's what makes it very hard to keep these politicians accountable. But on that point, you can take the initiative only so far. It is the duty of the station commander in some way to introduce himself to the community. He is serving that community.
Sure.
And we've never seen that. I've known maybe 5 station commanders in the whole of Joburg where they've gone out and they've done community outreach and they've said, hey, I'm the station commander for the station. I run the police in your area. Let me know your issues, etc. Most of them communicate with the CPF. That's the bare minimum they need to do. And they're happy like that. So, we can blame ourselves. Yes, we haven't taken the initiative. Yes, we haven't had the motivation to go do the things that we need to do as an active citizen. But at the same time, the other side hasn't done it either.
Yeah.
The marketing hasn't been good. We call it marketing, but a police station can't send out adverts. I'm the station commander.
We live in a world where I could send a message. In fact, right now, we are communicating. We don't know for sure, but we could be communicating with people all over the world right now.
Correct.
In this very instant.
Correct.
So, mass media is in all of our pockets. So that marketing aspect of it, I don't agree with you.
Look, I don't agree with you. I'll tell you something interesting though. So like Rise Mzansi.
Yeah.
We're hearing them everywhere. I mean, Songezo actually got a interview with Christian Amanpour on CNN yesterday. He's the only local politician to have done that. So I don't know what strings he pulled, but it's impossible.
He's pulling something.
He definitely pulls strings. But anyway, you look at someone like him, everyone's like, I'm going to vote Rise Mzansi. You go to his Twitter, which is the place you would connect with him personally without really, putting in much effort. You just click follow.
Yeah.
And you've connected with Songezo Sibi. So you can see what he's posting daily. You can see what's interesting him, what topics he's talking about, better than following the newspapers who are following him. But South Africans that are willing to vote for him, most of them who are on Twitter, and there's about 4 million South Africans on Twitter, if not more, most of them have not followed him. So you've got someone like Julius Malema. He's got over 2 million followers, massive following on Twitter. Right. He's got followers from all over Africa, America, everywhere. And they connect with him. And that's why you see the legend of Julius Malema grow so fast. People are genuinely connecting. It's not a puff piece in the media, I hear so that genuine connection matters. And I think a lot of South Africans haven't done that. You've chosen to vote for this person, but you haven't connected with them in any meaningful way. Even though those opportunities are there, it's literally you go to their page, you click follow, and you've connected with them, as opposed to reading about them in News 24, which is like secondhand information.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We're going to check out a few comments coming in. We've got Slippery Pickle here who says, a Metro cop refused to ticket cars right next to her yesterday who were quadruple parked outside Loft Freely House.
Loot Free.
Sorry, okay.
Lutuli house.
I'm sorry. Like some of these jokes go over my head, guys. Like I'm just a human.
It's a good joke.
She said their friends will squash it. Why bother?
Yeah, true. And that place outside Lutuli house, I go there quite often because of the High Court.
Yeah.
That place.
By the way, do you see how filthy the city center is?
Don't even talk. There's a load of garbage. There's a picture actually of a load of garbage right outside the doors of Lutuli House.
Which is where they were supposed to put it, by the way.
That's not nice.
What do you mean it's not nice? Dad, I don't care about nice. It's where they were supposed to throw it, yes.
Okay. I'm going to go with some of the voters on this. Those people gave us freedom. Yeah. 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But interesting comment I'm seeing here is from Patrick.
I was going to move on to Patrick next.
He talks about the SMSs that went to people in South Africa saying, don't vote for Action SA.
Hold that thought. So Patrick says, I like Roman's statement on Friday's show after the talk about stubborn ANC voters, those stubborn DA voters too. So everyone can catch the smoke this morning. Like, if you're going to be a stubborn voter, you are going to catch the smoke, man. And in fact, him bringing up Roman reminds me, you did an amazing job on the Democracy Unplugged panel, by the way.
Too kind.
For those of you who haven't checked it out, do yourself a favor. It is a power panel. And interestingly enough, we've done 8 this year already. That just blows my mind. You remember a little earlier on, I was saying we could be talking to the world. Yeah. It turns out there's one person who is in California, Christian Botha. Thank you so much for joining us. Moving on to that message you were talking about, Patrick is back. And he says, Rise Mzansi sent a SMS on Saturday. Don't vote for Action SA as they are in moonshot pact with the DA.
Now, that's a funny one because Songeza was complaining a month ago or so about the DA sending a message that you mustn't vote for Rise Mzansi. Now he goes and takes the DA. And that's the lovely thing about Rise Mzansi. They've promised new leaders, new politics, new everything. But actually, it's been more of the same.
Do me a favor, please just mute that laptop over there. Just here. Let's see the buttons. There we go.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Perfect. Yeah, so there hasn't been much new. He's adopted so much from the ANC, DA, even other smaller political parties, and they've run the campaign with that. I've got to give him credit. I mean, the campaign Rise Mzansi has done is amazing. It's very interesting.
I mean, like when you look at Rise Mzansi, there are a whole host of questions that come up. So for some of the more untrusting people in the public, we were all asking ourselves, where is he getting his money from?
And then we saw the funding report, and it's Rebecca Oppenheimer and this clandestine NPO. We are the people.
They call it. They like in movies that are made in the States, they call it the deep state.
Deep state.
They control all of this stuff in the background. And
you know what's funny? He knew that narrative of the Oppenheimers giving money to parties was around from, let's say, 2015 even.
Right.
That the Oppenheimers gave money. And they do this. Same as Patrice Motsepe. He gives money to various parties. It's good for democracy. You're helping people grow up. You're helping parties contest. But we've known about this, and we know the public sentiment about the Oppenheimers giving a party money has not been good. Nobody celebrates that the Oppenheimers are giving 15 million rand to XYZ. But still, he approached them for funding. So, you know, what was new about that? Had he crowdfunded 15 million rand from, let's say, 100, 200, maybe even 1 million voters, registered voters, that would have been powerful. That would have said, you know, I got 10 rand from 1 million voters. That means 1 million people are voting for Rise Mzansi. Instead, he got Rebecca Oppenheimer, which only has 1 vote, to give him 15 million.
I mean, if they are willing to spend the money, bro, if they are willing to spend the money, what do we do? What do we do? Hey? We've got a couple more interesting comments that have come through. This one from Snai, and she says, Patrick, my cousin got a call from Musi yesterday. He says he felt sorry for him, so he'll probably be voting for Bosa.
When we get to the end of the show, I'll say who I'm voting for, but that's very close on the lines. But Musi didn't call me.
Musi didn't call you.
I expect an apology. He didn't call me. I've been promoting that party quite often.
Yes, in fact, you mentioned it quite a few times on the panel the other evening. Canton was ready to rip your head off. It's like, what? When? What?
No, but it's a good thing that he questions. We don't challenge each other enough. We just say, "Hey, I'm voting for this party." We don't challenge that perception, and we should, not in a bad way. But if you say you're voting for Tiluva, right?
Yeah.
Bongani Beloy's party.
Yes.
Good. You've chosen a party to vote for. You've stood up and, you know, hopefully read their policies.
Right.
And you believe in the party, you believe in the person, and you're going to give that a chance. But here's another perspective. You know, Tiluva's a small party. Are you sure you want to vote for a small party? It might not accomplish democratic change.
Yeah, but you know, Bongani really disappointed me. But I mean, when you completely disappointed me, bro. That man, like, his track record is impeccable. Okay.
One of the best mayors
Absolutely.
in South Africa.
Without a shadow of a doubt, this man turned in clean audits like it was nothing. Like he could just wake up and just, sprinkled competence upon this country.
Even the DA
And then what
was
happened?
wondering how is he doing it?
Exactly. And then what happened?
Yeah.
He decided to join forces with who?
Well, he went to Action SA first, and I can't blame him for
No, 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 no. Look, let's not talk about where he went first. Where is he now?
Look, I share a different perspective. I feel he's done very well with Silva. He's given a voice to policies of Ubuntu.
Why? That's what I'm saying. Like, why not carry on in that momentum? Why would you take all of your hard work and then put it under the MK banner?
It's the same reason entrepreneurs leave their jobs in a very successful private company and start a company that is so much smaller than the company they worked to try and grow.
I don't think that I'm sorry. I feel like that's a false equivalency. Here's like it's an entrepreneur who has a business. Like statistically speaking, small businesses disappear within 2 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes less than that.
Right? So what Bongani Baloyi did was start a business that actually lived for about 5 to 6 years and then went to a corporate and said, hey, you want to take all my hard work? Here we go. Silver platter. There you go. Huh? I mean, how does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
I would have given them the middle finger and told them to go jump. Instead, I would have, I was fortunate enough to meet Bongani when he came in. He did a really good interview with Bafana Modise.
Yeah, I watched
under Manifesto Unpacked. For those of you who haven't watched that show, please do yourself a favor, especially today.
Yeah.
Because Bafana did an unbelievable job, man. He did north of 25 interviews with different parties. So do yourself a favor.
And it was completely unbiased.
Unbiased, completely. So check those out, those interviews out. But I was saying about Bongan when we met, he gave me the sense that he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's competent. He knows exactly what he's doing and all of that stuff, which I loved. Now, when someone is making so much headway, I think the idea for the rest of us would to be encouraging that person to carry on in that direction instead of being co-opted into something else.
Yeah, no, look, it's a different thing altogether. I like what he's done with Silva. I like what he's standing for. He would have my vote if I was, a little more. What can I say? If I was a little more tribalistic, I'm still on the Mandela dream, free and fair for all.
Yeah, sure.
Not that it's a racial party. He's not racial.
It's not racial at all.
It's just, those values will appeal to different cultures.
Yeah.
And it's not for everyone. I don't see, for example, the Afrikaner community voting to Luva.
Yeah, sure.
That wouldn't make sense for them.
I understand that. But it's in a, I think, similar to AfriForum. AfriForum has never said that it's not going to help anybody.
And it helps everyone.
It helps everybody. Yeah. Right? You know what? I had an amazing chat with Ernst van Zyl.
He's lovely.
Yeah, but technical higa hagas got in the way. But nonetheless, what I learned from that interview is that AfriForum, in my mind, is a good example of a group of everyday South Africans who decided to put their money where their mouth is.
Correct.
And it's not an exclusionary organization. They didn't say don't do this or you can't be a part of this because of this. No. Everyone can take part. However, what they formed AfriForum on was as a conservation project of some sort for their culture. I can't be mad at that.
I don't know if you've ever seen AfriForum TV.
No, I haven't.
It's free. It's online. And they've got all the old Afrikaans sitcoms and things that we used to have on our very diverse SABC before it became not so very diverse.
Yeah.
But, like Vet Koek Palace, all the shows we grew up with.
Yeah.
And you can stream this for free on AfriForum TV. It's absolutely free to sign up. So, you can start with a donation at AfriForum for as little as like
50
Rand,
Rand.
50 Rand. you're safe, and you know your money's going to a good place. It's apolitical, so they don't do politics at all. You don't have to vote for them. Give them your 50 rand, and they work with that money. They definitely work.
Look,
But
man, and it's a shining light, in my opinion,
True.
of what we could do as a country.
I wish there were forums for every community in South Africa. You know, the
Mm.
problem is it's just no one wants to stand up. Like for my community, the Indian community of South Africa, there's so many organizations, but they all fight each other. So there's no unity amongst it.
Let me ask you this, bro.
Mm.
Like, South Africa is a very interesting country
It
for multiple reasons.
It's a beautiful country.
Beautiful too, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. We have, I always say 12 official languages.
Yeah, because they made the 12th. I don't know if you know, the sign language is now
Yes,
the 12th.
yes. Yeah, we have to count it.
Yeah.
And each language has its own history,
Yeah.
has its own cultures, has its own traditions. The question then becomes, with that amount of and diversity has become a major thing across the world all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Especially in the
DEI.
West, DEI and stuff. With all the diversity we have in this country, how far-fetched of an ideal is it that we could actually work together? Like, for whatever reason, maybe perhaps because people haven't educated themselves enough about what AfriForum does, but AfriForum has it kind of makes it feel, makes some people feel like, oh, these Afrikaners just want to do this for themselves, and you know what I mean? Can we possibly come together under one banner as South Africa? Even though I live in this neighborhood and AfriForum does my neighborhood watch over there, you live in your neighborhood, and I don't know what Indian word I could possibly use to. You get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And then in Soweto, we've got Pegabantu.
Look, South Africa is going two directions, and you can see it. You feel it very real. There is racial division, and that has grown. It hasn't subsided since 1994. It's actually grown. You can feel it. You can sense it on social media. The majority of South Africans are still very free and diverse, and they willing to, speak to anyone, deal with anyone, sit next to anyone. But there are small pockets of individuals that are pushing this racial agenda. And because of that, we're hitting a fork in the road soon. Maybe not this election, but maybe 2029, where it's going to be you either voting for racial division, which is the reverse of apartheid, where we start dividing across racial lines. And some parties have already promoted that in this election. Or we're going to go ahead with the dream Madiba ahead of a free and fair South Africa for all. Some parties are promoting that in this election already. So we're hitting that fork in the road. I don't think we're here now. I don't think this election will define, we're going into a racial direction, but it does feel that way. I mean, BEE is here for over 20 years. That should have accomplished something now. And all we've done, and this is the funny thing about South Africa, we're not like the West. We don't need to bring in diversity. We are diverse.
Yes.
The basis is there. We don't need to bring in people from other countries to say, hey, we need more diversity. We have diversity, but what we try to do is we don't try to, leverage on the fact that we have real diversity. We try to leverage on the fact that we need representative diversity.
See, so, that word,
that representative thing.
That representation, that word, bro, that word, because if I'm one of those people who looks at things from the principle of the matter.
Yeah.
So if we're going to say diversity, inclusion, representation, whatever, it must be that way across the board. White people in this country make up what? The percentage given the last census?
Well, I don't like to work with percentages because they hide
I'm just saying for the purpose of this conversation.
So let's do it like this. So currently, white people are around 4.6 million South Africans.
Right.
So to put it in perspective for you, the biggest party in the country is 10 million votes. And hopefully that changes today.
Yeah, it will. I'm confident it will.
But now the second biggest party in South Africa is 3.3 million votes. So the white community is much smaller than that, much smaller than the ANC.
Right.
It's a very small community. It's the only community since 1994 that has decreased. So
In number.
In 1994, there were about 5.8 million South Africans that were white. That has decreased now to 4.6. It even went as low as 4.2.
And let's not be honest. It's let's be honest. Sorry, it's the decrease in the number is not just the people that are leaving the country who are immigrating and whatnot. The decrease in the number is also because some Stephans and Marikis are hooking up with Sipos.
Yeah,
and
that's a good thing.
Tsepisos, you know what I mean?
Good thing.
And they're popping out little Trevor Noahs all over the place. So I love that. I love that. But anyway, the point I was trying to make is this, Xavier, as far as the percentage of who's who. Like, if we're going to do that whole representation thing on a real level, then there must be, the percentage point right now would be a little over 10%, right? Not even 10. It's just a little under 10% of white people in the country, right? So that means in government,
it's 2.5. I think 2.5%.
There must be 2.5% white people in the government.
No, but
that's what I'm saying. Like,
those quotas can't work. But if you look at our cabinet, we've got white ministers in cabinet. Nobody talks about Barbara Creasy.
Sure. All I'm saying is, if we're going to have quotas for one thing,
we should have it for everything.
For everything, from top to bottom. It's similar to the gender pay gap.
Yeah.
If you want to equalize things, equalize them everywhere. Yeah. Or equalize them nowhere.
You see, that's the thing I've got against equality. I believe it's a farce. Equality is not, we build houses in the same area, but our houses don't look the same.
Yeah, of course not.
So equality is very hard to achieve. You can only achieve it through communism, I feel, because then everyone is under the foot of the government.
Like, we've seen what communism looks like, man. Yeah, give me one country that has gotten communism correct, like without millions of people dying, without millions of people dying, without millions of people. Where has communism worked? Where?
But the flaw in communism comes from that idea of equality. That's where it flaws, because nobody can be equal. We're born unequal. You've got talents that I don't have.
Of course.
Like, you can sing, I can't sing.
There you
go.
I
can't hold a tune for shit.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
Don't be afraid. You can say it.
Yeah, no, but like, I'm still self-censoring. But we've got different talents. You and I are not equals, but we shouldn't be unequal because of our color of our skin.
Yeah,
we should be unequal because you can do certain things I can't do.
There you go.
And I can do certain things you can't do.
Yes,
so
sir.
That's I believe the future of South Africa should come down to your ability and the ideas you possess.
So
not the color of your skin.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments that are coming through here on our YouTube page. And Snai says, by the way, Teres Cameron, he said he doesn't agree with Herman's stance on illegal immigration. That lost him my vote because I backed him until he said that. I understand politicians who support, I don't understand politicians who support illegal, and that's it. That's where it ends. Snai, please finish that comment. Because
he's probably saying illegal immigration.
Okay.
So in this election.
Oh, there it is. Immigration. There it is.
One of our big topics that is dividing the voter base is whether to support illegal immigration or not. Now, I don't know if you saw.
How do you support illegal immigration?
So you would have an open border policy, which is what Julius has been talking about for every day before Sunday.
Bro,
Sunday he turned his he flip-flopped.
Yeah, but that's Julius.
He said he doesn't support open borders anymore.
Yeah, that's Julius. What has he actually supported fully ever? Like, do you know what's interesting? ANC. Do you know what's interesting about the EFF? Everyone must live on the same level, and we must all have the same amount of money. When.
Equality, communism.
If I were to ask Julius Malema to show me his bank statement, we'd all faint.
Yeah, true.
We would all faint. If there's one thing that, look, I don't hate anything in this world, but if there's something that comes really close to hate for me, it's hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And blatant hypocrisy.
So I'll give you something to be angry about. Today, Julius Malema will cast his vote. He won't cast it where he stays, which is close to Hyde Park. So he should be going to Hyde Park High. He's not going to cast it there. No. He can't be seen amongst the elite South Africans where he actually stays and sleeps at night. He's going to Shisheko Primary in Soweto to cast his vote, to show he is one with the people.
No, he's not.
He's not one with the people. He lives in a mansion that none of us can afford.
Where's this school?
It's in Soweto.
Where in Soweto?
Shisheko, I think. Shisheko, it's called Shisheko Primary. He's got it on the EFF website.
I must check it.
On their Twitter page. He's going to go take pictures at 10 o'clock.
No.
Maybe you can go meet him there.
No, I don't want to go meet him. I must call the gents and tell them, hey, this guy lives in Hyde Park. You must go vote in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be voting there's a primary school up the road from my grandmother's house where I grew up.
Yeah, you told me.
So let me tell you something interesting about that primary school. They put in an application to rename the school Kgalema Motlanthe Primary School.
Oh my God.
But it's not happening. It's not happening.
Did you put in the application?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm just asking.
You know me better than that. Come
on.
No. Anyway,
that deployment.
Here's why. Here's why I say it's interesting. Because a lot of my family members started school there. Right? A couple of my cousins, my uncle's firstborn son.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is actually a part of the fabric of our lived reality.
Yeah.
Which makes sense as to why we need to go vote there.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair enough.
So when you tell me that Julius Malema, who lives in Hyde Park, is going to vote in Soweto as this ploy to show people, the level of manipulation is just
terrible.
It's revolting.
Yeah,
it's absolutely revolting.
And
I think it is our job here at the podcast party, not to just expose that, but to point out to people that don't fall for these games.
Yeah, no, true. Look, all of us, and I unless you got a section 24, right, which is where you are allowed to vote at a voting station that is not in your area, you could choose now which voting station you are.
Yeah,
because there are people in South Africa that are working, unlike Julius.
No, he is working.
No, he's working.
He's
made
working
politics a business.
It's not. It's just not impressive. That's
it. But there are people that are on contract. They might be in Cape Town, but they actually live in Joburg, and they're going to be in Cape Town for this week. They had to apply for a Section 24 notice to say, I need to vote in Cape Town. So he did that. So he used something that we actually need for his own benefit to show he's voting in Soweto. But on that point, we got to be very careful going to the polls today. You have to carry your ID.
Yes.
Whether your smart card or your green ID book.
Don't listen. Don't bring your driver's license.
They're going to chase you away, and you're going to complain that your democratic right is being infringed. But actually, you just need your ID. Carry a black pen in case, because sometimes the pens, run out of ink.
Yeah.
There's over 20 million people voting today. So a pen can only last so long.
Yeah.
Definitely carry your own pen, and definitely carry some water. You might be in a queue for a while, and say hello to the people in the queue with you.
Have a chat with people.
Yeah.
Find out who's voting for who, so that you know so that you know who to blame.
No. Let's
Just
not
kidding.
do that.
I'm kidding. Come on.
Let's have constructive
conversations. Yes,
we might
that's
be
the idea.
Yeah, we might be voting Rise. We might be voting ANC. We might be voting EFF. But the reality is, and it's very clear, there is a good chance no one's going to hold a 51% majority on their own this year.
You see, I don't trust these polls. Man.
I don't trust them either.
I do not. And look, man, there's a whole host of very intelligent people in this country who are far more intelligent than I am. I don't know if you watched the Burning Platform last week with Gareth, Davy Schultz, and
I'm not a fan of Davy Schultz and them. I feel they damage our democracy more than they improve it.
Look, man.
But yeah.
All I'm saying is this. That conversation gave a lot of insight into how certain people or certain pockets in this country will be voting. I found it eye-opening. I found it very interesting to listen to. I will say, however, I feel like we've gotten to a point in this country where we over-intellectualize these conversations.
Gareth actually said that to me. He's like, you're over intellectualizing it. Go to the basics.
Let's stick to the basics.
What are people voting for? They're
Let
either voting
us-
for a person they like.
There you go.
They're voting for what that party is doing for me, not for the country.
No.
What is it doing for me?
No one cares.
Am
what
I
it
going to
does.
get 2,500? Am I going to get NSFAS?
Am
That's
I-
what I'm voting for.
That's it.
And you know, that simplistic view of things is often a good thing because it shows you we haven't matured as a democracy in terms of we don't want better things than welfare. You know, we're still asking for the same things we asked for in 1994.
But I mean, it that could also be an indication of the fact that those things have not been met.
Yeah, no,
which
true,
is why
true.
we're still asking for the same thing.
True.
Now, it is now our responsibility to ask someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
We've asked
You
the
didn't
same
give
person.
it to me.
Yeah, we've asked you.
We finished
And
us,
you
ma'am.
didn't give it. You asked it. Give it to me, or I'll find someone who will give it to me.
And that's
okay?
what this vote is about.
That's what it's about. Okay, we've got a couple of comments coming
Yeah.
through. Sir Cameron says, at Snai, at least he will have your cousin and Seven Gesi voting for him. I also disagree with his immigration policy. I'm saddened as there are really good young people working for Bossa. I don't know, man. Like,
Look,
you know, I like Ayanda Ali. I like Nobuntu, Shazo,
Mhm.
Webster. And, you know, I think Bossa has got the correct kind of mix. Like Musi is a career politician, but he's towards the younger side
And
of
he's vibrant.
what we've seen in this country.
He's
right?
vibrant.
Yeah,
I mean, he's 40, I think he's 40, 42 or something.
somewhere there.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
And
And I look, I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I don't think I think voting for Bossa is not a bad vote.
no, it's not.
I don't think it's a
So-
bad vote. I won't tell you to vote for them, but I'm just saying if you
Yeah.
do,
So
it's not bad.
There's a few things you need to know about Bossa, and one of them is they're not a small party. They are contesting on every ballot,
Yes, sir.
on every province.
They got the signatures.
Yeah. And I mean, if you got the signatures, that baseline is there for you to say, we've got enough to get us seats in parliament.
Yes, sir.
So it's just a matter now of how many seats they get in parliament. But on that note, you know, the immigration policy, Bossa is not saying open borders. They're not saying, hey, let in illegal immigrants.
Mm.
What they are saying is it's a very complex issue because we now have issues where people are legally in the country with permits for refugee, but they're working at, let's say, checkers,
Okay.
which they shouldn't be. That's not a scarce skill. So Herman Mashaba, by contrast, wants to get rid of every illegal immigrant in South Africa. I don't know how you would accomplish that. It's estimated by the UN, they are close to 2.5 million.
You
I
go
think-
street by street.
You can go street by street, but
Block
I mean,
by
our
block.
police service is less than 250,000 people.
That's what you call in the
So-
SANDF.
Yeah,
They called those people out
even that.
during COVID.
No, even that. We're looking at, let's combine the SANDF, let's combine the criminal wardens that Panyaza's private army.
Yeah.
Let's combine LEAP, let's combine every law enforcement agency,
Yep.
plus the private security.
Yep.
You've still got less than 1 million people that need to go find over 2 million people. It's a very big undertaking, and Gayton McKenzie and Herman Mashaba are making it seem like, hey, this thing will be sorted next week.
No. Yeah.
After
no.
we win.
I'm not
You know,
that uninformed. I know I'm not. Look,
So you shouldn't, I'm glad you're not, but some people are of the impression that Gayton is actually going to go take a stick and chase all these people back over Beit Bridge, and it will be like Moses leading the people to Egypt. and,
right.
you know, it's not going to happen. So we need to be realistic, and Bossa has a more realistic policy on immigration, in my opinion, than Action SA. Yes, we want to hear that you're going to chase out all the illegal Malawians, the guys who are doing the illegal mining, because those are big threats in our country.
Right.
But we have to be realistic about how it's been done. Obviously, the minute you start doing the Gayton McKenzie and Herman Mashaba style, you're going to end up with every NPO, NGO across the world. You'll end up at the World Court about how we xenophobic. And it's happened. In 2008, had Zuma not stepped in,
Yep.
we would have been at the international court on the whole xenophobic thing. It was a major issue in the country when that guy was set alight and
Mhm.
it hit international papers. I think even now at the Holocaust Center in Joburg,
Yeah.
they still have a dedicated display of the xenophobic violence that occurred in 2008. So
and it was absolutely horrible.
yeah, it was horrific.
horrific.
I mean,
It was horrific.
I was in LX, and I look a certain way that people assume I'm Pakistani, and I'm not. I'm like 6th generation Joburg and maybe 12th generation South African. But the police told me to get out of LX because they're looking for Pakistanis.
Right.
And I felt offended by that. I even wanted to take out my ID and show them, hey, I'm South African. But I knew I'm not going to argue with these guys.
It's not.
They're trying to protect me.
Yes, they were just. What is this in Zulu?
Yeah.
What is this? What? Tell me what is this?
So even South Africans got attacked on the basis that we believe you're illegal.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe, like yesterday, it's one day before the election. Home Affairs in LX had a queue going around the block, getting the temporary certificate of your ID that you can vote for. Those were South Africans applying for that. An illegal foreigner can't apply for an ID.
Of course.
Technically, unless there's corrupt ways.
Yeah, there's
but you can't do that through the line. You're not going to stand in line if you're buying an ID. So those were genuine South Africans going there to make sure they got their documents so that they can vote. Because if you don't have your ID or a smart card, you need that certificate from Home Affairs to say, this is your ID.
Yeah.
And you can vote with that. But I mean, you can't go around street by street telling everyone, hey, where's your documents? Some people don't have their documents.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like if you are talking to people when they were close to where they actually reside, I think it's reasonable enough to just say, hey,
look, it's going to be a slow process.
Hey, listen, it will be a slow process. But I think it's the message it sends. Xavier.
Yeah, true.
For me, it's what it communicates. It's more so us, or at least the South Africans respecting the fact that we are in a sovereign country.
Yeah, that is true. We've lost a lot of that. I mean, there's a Pakistani tax shop on every corner now.
And unfortunately, in places like Soweto and other townships across the country, people have given up on the township economy. Like, we just gave it away. Yeah, I say this to my friends.
Nonsense.
I say this to my friends all the time. Somalians, Pakistanis, they did not invent this spaza.
No, we invented it.
We came up with this spaza.
Throughout Africa, there's no such
thing. There's no spaza anywhere else. It's a South African thing.
Yeah.
We came up with kotas or spatlo, whatever you bunny chow.
Shisinyamas, where you just go there, have a beer, have a steak.
Now, when you look at where this spaza is, like literally where it is, it's in someone's backyard.
Yeah, it's always been.
That backyard is a South African backyard.
Yeah. That's a major issue.
They didn't come in there with guns pointing at you and all of this stuff.
True.
Right?
True.
You were like, hey, man, I need a tenant who can run this puzzle of mine because I don't want to do it anymore. Right? I just want to sit on my backside and wait for the rent to come in. I don't have to put in the work. I just get the money.
But, it's interesting you're saying this because I spoke to a few landlords who own property in the nice parts of Joburg, Yeovil, Berea, the elite parts of Joburg, that side of CBD, etc. And we all know, as South Africans, we know South Africans are not living in Joburg CBD anymore. Yeovil and things is pretty much completely overtaken. There's one or two South Africans, but the majority is Nigerians, Ghanaians, Congolese. Half of Africa lives in Joburg CBD. You can find representation there. On that point, a lot of these guys are like, hey, if someone like Gayton or Herman takes over, I need to worry about my business.
Yeah.
Because I've got all these tenants that are not maybe legal in South Africa.
You see, that's the thing.
So I think a lot of South Africans depend on illegal immigration.
They do.
I think a lot of South Africans depend on even legal foreign nationals working in their homes.
I have no problem with legal.
That is what Herman has said.
That's my thing. Look,
Herman has said that, but Gayton wants to go further. He's like, you don't belong here if you're not South African.
See, going back to over-intellectualizing things, right? This is simple. You've got a house, you've got a yard, okay? And then someone jumps into your yard. Illegally so. Like, I mean, they just jump into your yard. They start cutting the grass. They, you know what I mean? They pull out your flowers. They start rearranging things the way they want to. as an uninvited guest.
Yeah, no, you will chase them out.
You have to.
Yeah, it's
That's
impossible.
just, it's just straightforward.
True.
Like, there's no two ways about it. I don't think we could have a conversation, a genuine conversation about illegal foreigners, and someone can somehow convince me that it's okay. It's not.
It's
not. If you're
Julius,
if your first move is breaking the law, what happens after that, I really don't want to care about.
No, look.
Let's check out some of these comments.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, Terence has been with us since the top of the morning.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
He's a good man. I hope you vote in.
She's a good lady, bro.
Oh, I didn't even
anyway,
see. Sorry about that.
All the government employees and tenderpreneurs will vote for the ANC. They will, in turn, try to manipulate the masses with T-shirts or KFC. Don't vote MK, EFF, PA, as they are in bed with the ANC. You agree with that?
Yeah, she's not wrong. We have seen these relationships flourish, I would say.
Yeah.
To the detriment of ourselves. We've seen that in Ekululeni. We've seen that in Johannesburg. And those are, if you consider a local government is a small version of a national government.
Yes, sir.
You can kind of compare the two. So we've seen what an Al Jamaa, PA, EFF coalition is going to look like.
Yeah.
We are living it in Joburg.
And it's terrible.
It's bad. It's bad. I don't know of anyone. If you guys are watching this from any of the other provinces, just understand Joburg is not the way it was 10 years ago. It's terrible now.
It's not the way it was 5 years ago.
Even 5 years, yeah. I think we've been generous. Under the new Al Jamaa, and he's a 1% party in our local election. And this is a real threat now. If the ANC loses, they might make Hanif Hendricks of Al Jamaa president. That is a real threat. And that guy likes, Islamic laws and Islamic this. And it might be very, very, very dangerous to our country to have these alliances in power.
Yeah.
So on that note, you've got to choose your parties well. PA, unfortunately, Gayton has said, I think he even came on your show and he said he will trade with anyone that's willing to give him power.
Yeah.
Now that's the game of politics.
I'll say this about Gayton. He's honest.
That's the thing. So
at least he's honest.
I respect him for that, but he is aligned in some cases with the ANC, but then he's also aligned in some cases and in some municipalities with the DA.
Other people. Yeah.
I mean, the VF. Look, so he works with anyone.
Look, let him
but give him the power to do that.
Let him do what he wants to.
Yeah.
In fact, those of you who are willing to vote for the Patriotic Alliance, you are empowering Gayton to hopefully bring about what he said he was going to bring about.
Yeah.
Anyway, another comment here from Dirk Kutsia. He says, any comments on Cyril basically campaigning during his national address on Sunday? Is that the platform for not for national emergency, or was he allowed to do this?
Did you watch it?
No, I did
Sunday's address too.
No, I did not.
I caught that family meeting because it might be the last family meeting that we ever see from Cyril. I had enough of those family meetings, so I wanted to commemorate it with one last one. On that note, Dirk is quite correct. And the DA, as well as a few other parties I forget offhand, have actually decided to bring a application before court to challenge this whole thing that he was campaigning, and it's against the IEC Act or the Electoral Act for him to have used that platform. Agreed, 100%. He did use it to campaign a little bit. But at the same point, I watched the full address. I felt quite patriotic with what he had said in some points. We have achieved a lot as a country, and people often conflate the ANC as, the government. But actually, the government is separate.
Let me tell you something. I'm sorry. Like, for the last time, before the elections, like South Africans, I'm actually not even going to look at you. I'm gonna look straight into the camera. South Africans, whenever you hear a member of governance or whatever, a person who is part of the political elite in this country tell you that they have achieved so much, I want you to know that they did so on your back. It was your blood, sweat, and tears. The only development that we've had in this country was as a result of people like you and I who put in the work do not believe this nonsense that it was some political what it wasn't. Okay, it was not. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry for interrupting you. Carry on. Sorry.
It was a fair rant. It was a fair
I
rant.
had
But
to get that out.
look, to be honest, it wasn't the right position for him to do it.
Bloody
He
fool.
basically gave a very short State of the Nation promoting the ANC's work, which is not so good, I must say. But I felt
horrible.
it was a good address. It wasn't the right place, though.
It was. Look,
So
man.
Dirk is correct.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Even Slippery Pickle seems to agree. He says, at Dirk, he caught you. I didn't hear a word. I can always tell when he is lying. His lips are moving. Hey?
Look, he's a very good orator. And initially, when he started being president, I didn't feel he was a good speaker. But he's grown.
Grown. It
experience.
At least he didn't lose his iPad this time around.
Yeah,
you know, he had it with him.
Or his pen. He's a president that has lost a lot of things during his tenure.
Oh,
pens, iPads.
Anyway,
but I think there's an interesting comment here from Slippery Pickle. There's a separate line with cheers for buying your ID book.
Yeah.
Have you noticed how many headlines have come up about people in Home Affairs that were selling IDs or selling passports?
Yeah.
Now
I'm shocked. It's surprising to people.
Like, yeah, but like now we finally seen it, and we only digging in now because one minister in Cyril's cabinet has taken a very strong stance on immigration, despite whatever his comrades have said.
Yeah,
Aaron Motsoaledi. I mean, he's been very strong. The only people that have actually stopped him is the Helen Suzman Foundation. Had it not been for them, he would have cancelled those ZEP permits.
Yeah.
And a lot of Zimbabweans would have to go home. So, we can say the government is to blame for illegal immigration, but there's a lot of influence that these NGOs and MPOs have in our country in bringing in refugees and things that are undocumented.
Yep.
So I think there's a group of Ugandans sitting in Cape Town, in city center, that refuse to move because they're on refugee status and the government must take care of them and provide housing. They are illegally in the country. We should just deport them.
My guy.
But the UN is telling us we can't deport them.
Let's not bring the UN. I've got so many thoughts about the UN. We are not having that kind of morning. Okay, we're not
going to start there.
Anyway, we're going to be joined by someone I absolutely love. So, Sinazo Nahai is a woman that I disagree with all the time. Like, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but that's the reason I love her. Because she's one of those people who has no problem speaking her mind. And she's interesting on so many levels. She did an amazing show with us called Matter of Fact. In fact, I want to rope her into doing a bit more. Okay. She did this really great interview with Vuiswa Ramokop.
Oh, yes. Premier candidate for
Rise Mzansi. That was it was an illuminating discussion. Check it out on the Podcast Party YouTube page right here. You look.
You must put these links in the comments.
Yes, I'm going to put them as well. In fact, a little later on, we're going to talk about the document you put together, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Good morning, Sinazo. Hello.
Hey,
good morning, Jack. Morning, everyone. How are you?
Good. You look like you're in a bright, sunny part of South Africa.
I wanted to look so bright for Jack today because I said to him today, I'm going to look so bright for you. So,
thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much. So, Sinazo, given the fact that you were, you're a part of the Podcast Party family, and you know that we're all about, educating people and helping people make better decisions about their lives. I know for a fact that you are going out to vote today. And
I am.
I just wanted to find out, have you made up your mind as to who you are voting for, or are you on the fence like most people?
I won't lie. I know who I'm voting for nationally. I don't know. I think with provincially, because obviously you have to consider the premier candidates. So it's really a toss with that because it's not just the national leadership. It's also provincial. So I literally am like, okay, this or that. But I think I'll make a good choice. I've watched a few of the candidates as well with Bafana. So I think with that, I kind of know. I kind of know who I'm going to go with, but especially nationally, I'm very clear. But provincially, I think I just yeah.
Sinazo, can I ask you quickly? Have you taken a
Yes.
look at the independence for your province?
Look, I like Anelimda. I won't lie for independent. I've seen a few here and there, but hey, some of them, I mean, some of them I hear them, but I feel like politics in South Africa has become a career thing now. It's
Yes.
Mm,
people are looking for bread. So for me, you really need to really look into it. What are they saying? Because some of the things they're saying is rhetoric. It's things that everyone else is saying for popularism. So for me, I'm very wary of these pop-up parties and independent candidates because we know that politics is the easiest career to get into in South Africa
Yeah.
for to feed your family. But obviously, we don't want career politicians. We want people who actually will make a change for the country, who actually care about the small person and also actually the big person, because you need to be
Mm.
able to balance the scale when it comes to South Africa, especially because we're the country with the biggest economic gap. How do you solve that? What's your policies around that? So for me, I am literally looking for. I looked because it's the last day. I looked for someone or people who or parties that actually speak to South Africa, not just one side of South Africa. Because what we've seen with the DA or the ANC or some even the EFF is that one speaks to the other extreme and not think about the
Mm.
holistic country, which is what the
mm.
problem is today.
Yeah.
So, Sinazo, um, a lot of, as you said, we've got a lot of pop-up market politicians. You know what I mean? Sometimes they're
Pop
here,
up.
sometimes they're not. Let me
Yeah.
ask you, what kind of quality should we be looking for in some of these representatives? Like, is there a specific thing that you look for in some of these candidates that makes, like, for argument's sake, what appeals to you about Anil Da? What is it that she has that even made you think about, possibly voting for her?
Possibly. The thing is with South Africans is that it's so easy to speak to the problems. It's so easy to say, "Oh, I know, Vele Diepsloot, they've got the issue of illegal immigrants, so let me speak to that." Or I know, for instance, in Alex, they've got the issue of development. But those are issues that deal with individual areas, and it's almost like South Africans, what they do, they isolate spaces because maybe Anele knows, oh, I know in Diepsloot I'll get the populist vote. But I look for someone who understands the country. The country
Mm,
Mm.
is not Soweto. The country is not Diepsloot. It's not Gqeberha. The country is such a big landmass, South Africa.
mm,
And the country has so many issues. We've got 30 years, and we can't deny that in 30 years, as much as ANC has messed up, there's a lot of improvements they have done. But now, what you need, we need a political party now, or even an independent candidate who will say, "Thanks, ANC, you've done what you needed to do. You are a liberation movement. Now we need a progressive movement that understands where South Africa is today." Which, by the way, I don't believe ANC does. I think ANC lives
Yeah.
in its own headspace. It lives in its own black eliteness. Its friends, its kids. I mean, even if you look at the people that are, I don't know what Kangasa is in English, campaigning. They're bringing out these slay queen girls who have weaves, and I'm thinking to myself, are these the people that you are saying are representing South Africa? Because what
mm,
we want to see normal South African youth going out there saying, "Oh, ANC has done this," but we don't see that. So
mm.
it's just
Sina-
like there's yeah. Sorry.
Sinazo, can I ask you
Yes.
something quickly? I'm going to give you three campaigns that went out nationally. Tell me which
Sure.
one appealed to what what you're speaking about. So the first one is vote for. I'm not going to say the party, but vote to rescue SA. The second
Okay.
one was only action will fix SA,
Mm-hmm.
and a job in every home. Which of those speak to the issues that you would say are national?
National
And
is a
would you
job
believe?
in every home. I'll tell you why.
Mm.
You know, but also you must remember all of these things, they all have the same funders. So you just spoke about slogans. So I'll just speak
Yeah.
to the slogans. I think a job in every home is the most important slogan. And obviously, all of these political parties speak about jobs in every home as well.
Mm,
So let's not also discard the fact that their manifestos speak about getting jobs in every home. But in terms of if you were to put just the slogans out there, a job in every home would fix a lot of our problems. But also
correct.
understanding what the jobs are. I
Mm,
remember when there was President Jacob Zuma, and Vavi, he was very loud at that time. We don't know where he's been now. He came out laughing, saying, jobs in the sweeping the street, or these, those security jobs, all those what people deem as small jobs, picking up trash, cleaning the streets, said, oh, but those are not real jobs. People
mm,
lost those jobs to tenders, right? they,
yeah.
they
Mhm.
were
Yeah.
outsourced now, not insourced. How many thousands of jobs were lost, and how many homes stopped
Mm.
having
Mm,
something to eat? And we should, when we look at these political parties, you must look at how they speak about people's jobs as well,
correct.
Mhm.
demeaning something as small as picking up. Pick It Up right now had a strike. I don't know if you saw that strike,
Yeah.
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Yeah.
contract
We've
Yeah.
workers
definitely
This
seen it.
workers who feed
I've
the
seen
food
is
some.
system.
terrible.
You
Yeah,
know,
we've seen it.
it's horrible because that was a job that was feeding a family. But now,
Yeah.
because look, tenders are a problem in South Africa right now. Let's be very
Yeah.
honest. But when you think about it, those are the same jobs that Vavi was laughing at. But those are the
Mm,
jobs that were putting food on people's tables.
yeah.
Do you know what, Snazo? Speaking of jobs, I
Yeah.
was having a very interesting conversation with the guy that drove me here this morning.
Hmm.
And I was pointing out to him, look, man, everyone was told that you must go to university and
Yeah.
study
Yeah.
this and what.
Ooh.
I think I could be wrong. I could be wrong. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. But I think we have a shortage of artisans in this country.
Correct. We've had
We
that for
don't
ten
have
Bingo.
years.
Come on.
we don't have plumbers, we don't
Of course.
have electricians,
Hmm.
we don't have people who are capable with their hands.
Hmm.
Do you think at some point the attitude towards those jobs will change once everything falls apart? Do we have to wait until everything falls apart before people realize that those jobs are actually important? And by the way, plumbers make a really good living,
Yeah.
okay? Like,
They do.
let's not act like they don't make money.
Over 30,000 rand a month. You
They,
can
Hmm.
make as a
you
plumber.
listen to that.
Now, if I see a
Definitely.
plumber driving a G wagon, I'll see that as aspirational. But we see tenderpreneurs driving Bentleys and G wagons.
Mm.
That's the problem.
So, Sinazo, is it because
Who hire
becoming a
those plumbers, by the way, because they can't do the job?
excuse
Mm,
me?
Sorry, Jack, can you repeat that?
No, I'm saying like tenderpreneurs will drive around in G wagons and all of this stuff. If plumbers and all of that stuff were to drive in G wagons, would it be a bit more aspirational? Would it be something
Do you know?
more South African people are willing to get into?
Do you know what's said about what those artisan jobs is that, for
Mm,
instance, you'll have contracts with government or contracts. Let's say government
mm,
because the issues here are tenders, right? Asking for plumbing companies.
yeah.
When Sinazo has a company that says I do everything because that's what most these tenders do. I do everything. I will go fetch a plumber who probably has their own business who should be getting that contract from government directly. But because I
mm,
don't know someone in government, I'm going to be the person who he hires for the fraction of the price that they're probably getting paid in government. And on the
mm.
question of looking down on those jobs, when you look at first world countries, I was sharing this with my husband. When you look at first world countries, jobs like gardeners, they call it landscapers. You have
Yeah.
jobs like plumbing, for instance, electricians. Those are multi-million rand industry, in fact, billion rand industries. Young people are actually getting into those spaces, calling themselves landscapers, creating multi-million rand companies instead of saying, oh, I'm just a gardener. But South Africa, and I'll say ANC, has conditioned young people to think, oh, if you're a gardener, you means you're just like your grandfather who was just a slave
Mm.
to the old
Garden
system,
boy.
which is not the
Mm.
case. It's not the case.
Mm.
We've not taught our youth that it does. You don't need to go to university, by the way, to make it big or to have an income in this country. We've got thousands and thousands of university graduates, which the system was not ready for, by the way,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
are
Mm-hmm.
Free
sitting at
education.
home. And exactly, free education is such an important blueprint, but I think it should have waited until a point in time where the
Mm.
economy was ready to absorb those
Absolutely.
young people. It was used as a rush, job. I don't want to say rush job for elections. It was just signed off
Mm.
by the president, which was Zuma
Oh,
at that time, because they wanted the votes of the youth, and it
yeah.
has backfired. NSFAS is a mess today
Mm.
because there were no proper policies that were put in place to say this is how it will work. But also,
Yeah.
Mm.
besides
Yeah.
that, there was no economic plan to say once all these thousands of new graduates are in the system, how will we then make sure that all of them get jobs and cater for them?
I'll tell you something interesting now.
Mm.
I don't know if you guys have read the
Mhm.
ANC manifesto. I know a lot of people are not interested in it. I've had to read it. Um, what they offering? So some of the parties, like the DA, are offering 2 million jobs, right?
Mm.
They don't say much about where these jobs will come from, but you
Mhm.
trust they know what they do. But anyway, the ANC is offering 2.5 million work opportunities. So I don't know if you know about the Yes initiative from the president.
Mm-mm.
So that allowed someone to be in a work opportunity, not with a
Yes,
permanent contract,
for 6 months.
for 6 months. So you come out of matric, you get a work opportunity with partners to the Yes project,
Mm-hmm.
and you work there for 6 months. And
Mhm.
after the 6 months, you might get a contract, but you might not. But there's
Mm.
25 of you, and there's one position available.
There you go.
So that's the
Please.
problem. And then I saw something interesting from NYDA. It's the National Youth Development
Development
Agency.
agency. Yeah.
It's a government run thing, which a lot of people have criticized as being a bust for ANC.
Mm.
Um, I saw them advertise positions for learnerships. The one learnership, if you have a normal degree, so a bachelor's degree,
Yeah.
right? 7,500 Rand per month is your stipend. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's under 2 times the minimum wage, which means you almost at the same level as a cashier at Checkers.
Mm.
Okay. Then
Mm.
a master's, they require you to have either a master's or a bachelor's. The master's, if you've got your master's degree, it's 8,400 Rand.
What?
I'm not kidding. And they were proud of this. A master's degree, you sitting in, let's say you didn't go through NSFAS and you went through and you paid your own education
Right.
Mm.
because you've got good parents and things. Now you're getting an 8,500 Rand stipend
It's madness.
No,
on a
man.
master's degree.
Madness.
That costs you over 250,000 Rand.
Mm.
A master's degree is like an MBA,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
So, I mean, you've now paid like an MBA, a good MBA in this country is 450,000 Rand.
Yes, sir.
You've got that debt to pay,
Mm.
and now you're getting 8.5.
Man, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
So, Sinazo, firstly, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Lastly, just to wrap up, two things. Number one, I know you're going to vote. So, where are you going to go vote? And number two,
I'm
if you
voting.
don't mind, if you don't mind, you could share who
Yeah.
you're going to vote for, or at least tell some of
No.
us who to vote for.
Okay. I don't know about who I'm going to vote for, so I'm not going to say that one. I'm voting here in
Well, we
Morningside.
only got
I'm going to
three.
go around Santon Morningside, so I'm going to be voting here at my local station.
Mhm.
I would say who not to vote for. I don't want to say who not to vote for, but I think it's just up to the person. For instance, for me, I can't see myself voting for a party that I feel is racist. And it's not just, and racism is not just white against black. I mean, white against black is also black against white in a way, right? A party
Mhm.
that will not unify the country, a party that doesn't consider the Rainbow Nation in its in its wholeness.
Holistic.
That
Mhm.
includes holistically. Thank you for the English. You know, one that will say, I vote for the colored vote, or vote for the Indian or the black or the white. I want a party that says vote for South Africa. So for me, I would say don't vote for anyone who will cause any further division in this country, any further economic division, and any further, hatred amongst South Africans.
Love it, Sinazo.
Love it.
Love it.
Thank you so much, Sinazo. Please enjoy the rest of your day. And I will be in
Thank
contact
you.
soon. We need you back.
Yeah, no,
We need you back.
definitely. And I'm going to send you
Thank
my
you,
document
guys.
before you go to the polls.
Okay, thanks. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, Sinazo
She,
Nahai.
she was great, man.
She's absolutely amazing, man.
She's so informed.
Deeply so.
I
And
mean-
and look, that's why her and I get into arguments and stuff.
I
Because
can
like
see.
we see things from different points of view.
Mm.
But what I love about her is the fact that she's not married to ideas of the world.
Yeah.
So if you show up with some really great information, she'll change your mind, as any intelligent person should do, right?
You should.
So we've got a couple of comments coming through. Congo Chris, good morning, sir. And he wants to know if we're doing a live show. Yes, we are. I can
Yeah.
see your comments.
Yeah.
I'm reading them right now. And do you know what I love about Congo Chris?
He's telling us he's going to go vote.
Yeah, he's going to go vote. He says, there you go. I'm on my way to the voting station now. But
Yeah.
look, this guy does not take a moment to forget that you only live once, and therefore you should do things that are close to your heart. His next comment is, hey, Slippery Pickle, everyone else is still in bed. I'm going right now so I can have a full day of drinking. Do you understand?
No, South Africa's best pastime.
He is focused.
Yeah,
He's
no,
focused.
he knows the game. He
I
knows
love
the
it.
game.
I
knows the
love
game.
it. Love it.
He's
Thank you for joining us,
100%.
Congo Chris, man. It's always great having you checking us out, man. And this is what I mean. This is why I love some of the things that Congo says. Like he doesn't hold back, and a point can be made that some of the ANC's policies, to a certain extent, are racist. It is a shock to the system for a lot of people in this country to assume that a black person can be racist. But you know what? They can.
They can. 100%. Any person can be racist.
Take it from this black person.
Like I
can be very racist.
don't see a nice black couple looking forward to adopting a Chinese kid. That would be weird.
See?
So it's not that you're racist. There is some racial bias always.
Mhm.
But everyone has the propensity to be racist.
Yes, of course.
Of course. That said, the ANC is one of the most non-racial parties in South Africa.
Yes.
They've got members from all walks,
Yes,
including Chinese. I don't know if you saw the Greek posters they put up in the Greek area, Bedford View.
Yep.
Did you see that? They actually printed the ANC poster in Greek.
Yep. There's a couple of them that are printed in Chinese.
Chinese, because I buy groceries in Ceraldine. They South African Chinese.
Okay.
So I'm not supporting foreign. Just in case anyone.
You needed to add that caveat.
No, I had to. Chinese community is very big in South Africa. But I buy my groceries there, and they had ANC posters. It was the only one they had because they have a huge branch there in Ceraldine. And they had the ANC posters printed in Chinese. So I mean, and we've even got Chinese MPs from the ANC. So
very interesting.
It's a community people don't talk about, but we've got so many Chinese South Africans. I mean, the Bank of China operates here in South Africa.
Yes.
The Construction Bank of China.
Here, hey?
Yeah. Construction Bank of China operates here.
Yeah.
Huawei's biggest operation in Africa is here. So I mean, that's a community we don't talk about, and they all vote for the ANC.
Hey man, Slippery Pickle wants to say something to you. He says, but Xavier, if you adopt a Chinese baby today, they could be chipping your PS7 in 8 years.
It's a good investment, but they're still human, hey? No, we're not Chinese, huh? An 8-year-old chipping a PS7.
You never know. You never know. Congo Chris says, Jack, Slippery Pickle is having shrooms for breakfast. We're in for an absolute joll of a day. Oh my God.
Oof.
Save me a few.
Yeah. Is this the garlic shrooms or the other shrooms?
No. These are the magic shrooms.
Oh, okay. I thought it's like mug and beans garlic shrooms. I love those things.
Those are the ones that give you a nice lift off.
Yeah,
Slippery.
after
kinda-
you vote. Have it after you
after
vote.
you vote. Yes.
Not before you vote.
Not before.
You'll start voting for places like Hope SA with all the colors. I love their logo though. Hey, did you see hashtag Hope SA's logo?
No, I haven't.
It's got like 1,000 colors in it.
Oh no! Does it look like the LGBTQIA?
I actually thought they were pro LGBTQ.
Oh, wow.
XX.
So someone on Twitter or
Mhm.
X, Paul Oxley says, "Vote, vote, vote. Yeah, like your life depends on it because you know
Your
what
life
it does.
depend on it.
It does.
Yes, yeah.
It really does. So Xavier, bro, I think it's about time we get into that document you put together, right?
Yeah, sure.
Firstly, I was thinking about this last night when I was, going through your document, and I thought to myself, why in good God's name would anyone want to do this? You literally read all the manifestos.
Well, not all of the 50 parties contesting.
Yeah.
Some parties don't even have websites.
Yes.
Believe it or not.
I remember you mentioned
I
this,
told
but
you
like,
this. But to get their manifesto, I tried to make calls. I did all that. So I read in total about 35 manifestos,
okay,
give or take, which is ridiculous.
It's a lot of political higa to read. I'm just saying, but you went through all of this stuff. You read these things and you compiled a document that is 32 pages long.
Well, it's 32 slides. It's not like
slides.
a lot of reading.
There you go. It's
15
32
minutes
slides.
you can read it, yeah.
It's got images. So those of us that don't enjoy reading can just go through the images. And you timed this thing so that the maximum amount of time that someone would have to read this thing is like 20 minutes.
22, 23 minutes, yeah.
Like you've got it down to a science.
Yeah, no, because South Africans don't like to read, one.
Mhm.
And also, no one's going to read the EFF's 200-page manifesto.
Yes, they're not.
I don't even think EFF members have done so. So a lot of the manifestos were just very heavy-weighted.
Yeah.
And saying more or less things we knew. So what I did is I highlighted 27 important parties. There are more that are on the ballot, but there were 27 that stood out as parties that could change South Africa.
Right.
That said, I did a short 6-line summary of each party and its policies. So it shows up in a picture. And if anyone wants to see this, it's on my Twitter page. It's pinned.
There you go. There's his handle right there at just Xavier B.
So if you go to my profile,
we'll also put it out on Podcast Party.
Yeah, thanks, man.
On our X profile.
Yeah.
So you can also take a look at that thing. Look, it's going to be an illuminating read. Like and it's really quick.
Yeah.
Like it is really quick.
You can go through it quite fast.
Yeah, I've got it right here on my phone. And listen, we're gonna post it on our Twitter profile. Let me do this real quick. So as you can see, like this is not too much to read, right? It's got pictures and everything. It's so cute.
So
I like it.
I've gone through the ballots and things. Like I said, should be over in 20 minutes. And like, if you don't like the EFF, you don't read that piece. If you don't like Action SA, you don't read that piece.
Yeah.
But if you feel like you're going to vote ANC, read that piece. If you feel like you're going to vote VOSA, read that piece. The good thing is there's a comparative table at the end that shows you each party's policies against the other one.
Right.
So you can see which parties are going to tank the economy with doing these crazy welfares. So like MK has said, 7,500 rand for pensioners. Where are we going to get that 7,500 rand? God knows. But 7,500 rand would tank the economy. You're going to have inflation through the roof.
Yeah.
So MK, obviously, those kind of policies are going to tank the economy and send us all into suffering. So then 7,500 rand will buy you a loaf of bread. So that's the important thing we need to consider today. Which policies are going to work for the better of Africa?
Yep.
Or South Africa rather. And which policies aren't.
So just a quick message for all of you that are joining us this morning. By the way, tomorrow between 6 and 8 in the morning, the Burning Platform will be streaming live with Gareth and Pumi Mashiko. Please make sure you check that one out. There'll be a lot of very interesting analysis taking place on that show tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's exciting.
It's
wish I was there.
Oh man. Well, we can make you are talking to the right guy. We could make something happen. But you know what I mean?
Let's
make sure you check it out. Let's get the voting done, right?
Yeah.
So you and I had once a very interesting conversation about political slogans and all of this stuff from the past.
Yeah.
So in 1994, the ANC was a better life for all.
Yeah. Vote for change.
Vote for Change happened at some point, even though they were the ones.
NP was only NP can save South Africa.
Only NP can save South Africa.
Which is very similar to another party this year.
But what do you make of these party slogans, like only action can save South Africa, or at least the repetitive nature of this rescue and save thing? Like a lot of people have made that a linchpin to how they communicate their message. Like, why do we have a savior complex in this country? Like someone has to come in on a with a cape and all of that. I mean, when I think about how Nelson Mandela was positioned in our minds, he was like
Messiah.
This Messiah, and he was, you know what I mean? And now we've got Nelson Mandela Square, Nelson Mandela Bay, the Nelson Mandela municipality. We've got Nelson Mandela University. We've got Nelson Mandela on our money. We've got, he's everywhere.
Yeah, true.
He is everywhere.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because if we look at our past, the Freedom Charter came out in 1955.
Yes, sir.
It was announced in Kliptown. Over 50,000 South Africans at that point during the apartheid era, and that was the height of apartheid. And a lot of people will say the height of apartheid was 1980. It was not. 1950s, when the laws were passed, people were being moved out of their houses.
Yep.
So 1955, the Freedom Charter came out. If you read the Freedom Charter today, in 2024, nothing on that list besides the free and fair South Africa for all, which is, it's arguable if we've achieved it. Nothing on that list has actually been achieved. So we're sitting now over 30 years, maybe even 60 years from that date, and we still need the same things. So these slogans are emotive because we still need those things. And it's a bit manipulative because the slogan doesn't tell you how you're going to achieve it.
Yeah.
So we probably will see the same slogans in 2029, which is sad. But I hope there are some parties that are going to stay true to those slogans, regardless of what the voting outcome is. So if the DA, like a lot of people are saying, decreases and it doesn't keep its majority in the Western Cape, I hope that it continues to fight and rescue South Africa, even if it didn't get the votes. So I hope that's the case. And I'll be following up with these parties to make sure they do that, and you know, expose what they have done to do that. So I hope it's more than just a slogan, because a lot of people are actually making those decisions to vote on those slogans.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of comments coming through. Congo Chris says, it's an absolute joy to have you guys live this morning. Thanks, guys. Thank you for tuning in, man. Shout out.
Thank you to all the other audience. I know
Everyone
a lot
else,
of you guys.
all of you.
Yeah,
all
there's
of
like
you.
500 of you or so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Prince Mutlala says, great risings, gentlemen. Young people, please go vote. I cannot say it enough. I would completely agree with that. Go out and vote.
Correct.
Good morning, Prince. Slippery Pickle says the EFF's manifesto would be 100 pages if they remove the words the EFF will.
Oh my God.
Can you
he's
disagree?
right.
I mean, you were reading the manifestos.
right.
He's so right.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to copy the manifesto. I'm going to remove the EFF will, and I'm going to see if it comes to 100 pages.
It will most
I'll do
probably.
it next week.
It'll most probably.
Because, geez, that was a book I had to read.
Yeah.
And it was vicious.
And it wasn't a page turner, I'm sure of that. Snai says, I'm flying back to shitty KZN. Back from shitty KZN.
He's
back
going to the promised
CPT.
land.
I'm going to my voting station straight from the airport. Sanile is flying to Joburg from CPT to vote. It's a big deal, guys. It really is. It really, really is.
Big respect to you guys flying out today. The flights are ridiculously priced. I checked online. So a big respect to you guys that are flying around the country to vote.
Yep.
You are amazing.
So, Kebone Morena is asking about your document. Is the link to the report? Is there a link to the report? There is.
It's on Twitter.
Yeah.
So if you go to my Twitter profile, just Xavier B, it's there. Otherwise, you can WhatsApp me or contact me on email.
Before you start handing out your information, you must be careful.
No, I won't give out my number.
Anyway, you can also check out us on. You will post the link to the report on our X profile, as well as on Facebook all of that good
I
stuff.
think you guys retweeted it last night.
Yes,
as
we
well.
did.
Yeah.
We did. So just check out Podcast Party SA on your social media
I'll put a
platforms.
link in the comments afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely
and
do
we
that.
missed something very important.
Did we?
Yeah. The 3 ballots.
Oh, no, we're
What
going to
they
get into
achieved,
it.
yeah.
No. I wanted to leave that right at the end so
Yeah,
that it's
good
the
choice.
last thing we say before we step out of here.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
We'll break that
good
down.
choice.
Don't worry about it. I got you, bro. I got you. We've got a few other comments coming in here. Snai and Slippery Pickle seem to be going back and forth about this. And Snai says, it reeks of the ANC from King Shaka Airport. They spent every penny to campaign here, ANC flags and billboards everywhere. But I remember that was par for the course in South Africa at some point. Like no matter where you were in the country, you'd always come across ANC posters.
Here's an interesting thing for you. The
Yeah.
ANC managed to put posters in China.
The ANC,
Literally.
Wait, what?
Literally, they had political posters in China. That's why they printed in Chinese, because they sent some over there. They had political posters in the UK. They had political posters in Germany. They had political posters in New York, right? They were one of the only parties that did this. So close to the voting stations, close to the embassies, they had their flags or their posters up there. Besides that, they've had the strongest poster campaign in the country. Right.
Okay.
Now, if we wind the clock back to last year, the ANC was being sued for 100 million. They were attaching Luthuli House, and suddenly this party has millions to go print T-shirts and posters.
Hey.
So it's amazing what the ANC has achieved. But I have to ask, where the hell did the money come from?
Okay, I'm not going to say this as a matter of fact. I'm just it's allegedly.
Yes.
Because that's what you have to say, and
Yes,
because someone
it's a
might
rumor.
someone might sue me or
I
whatever.
heard it through the grapevine.
I heard it through the grapevine that there was some money somewhere in a Middle Eastern country.
Yes.
That was put there, and a telecommunications company allegedly was supposed to be the one that was supposed to funnel the money here.
Yes.
So I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if they were able to.
We don't know if it's true or not, but we know there was.
I don't know if it's true or not.
There was a rumor.
Here's what I know. A couple of months ago, in fact, at the beginning of the year, I think January or February, I could be wrong, one of those months, I heard a news story saying that Luthuli House needs to be liquidated. Like they need to sell furniture and wada.
They couldn't pay salaries.
A couple of weeks later, boom, they're campaigning. There's T-shirts. There's, hey,
they
we're
even
going
brought back Tabu Mbeki.
Dude.
Tito Imbo, when he was campaigning.
Look, in fact, thank you for saying that. But before we get into that, actually, but like as I was saying, they were supposed to be liquidated apparently.
Now they are the strongest campaign in the country.
They've got this money. I don't know where the money came from. I'm not going to cast any aspersions. I'm just saying it's very funny.
Did you see the ANC advert?
No,
it costed millions.
I haven't seen
it. It was nice. It's nonsense, but it was nice. The production was good. The film quality was good. The content was good.
Hey, man.
I wouldn't vote ANC, but
look, I can shoot a great advert with an iPhone. It shouldn't cost millions.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, I'd like to backtrack a little bit. So my frustration this year with politics as a whole really comes down to just how vacuous these messages we are sent are from political leaders.
Yeah, true.
I am so sick and tired of hearing these political parties claim that they're going to create jobs. Whereas I know it's not your job.
Yeah.
It's not your job to create
jobs. You have to have built the structure that allows businesses to create jobs.
That's
and they've
the point.
Killed that. In the last 30 years, they've made it so hard for a business to create jobs.
It's precisely that. So any political, in my opinion, this is my opinion. I'm not putting this on anyone else. Any political party that has said
we'll create 5 million jobs
lost my vote.
Yeah, I hear you. 100%.
The moment they said that,
it was one of the painful factors for me reconsidering the DA because historically I've been a DA voter. When they said they're going to do 2 million jobs, I was like, but from where?
Like, what are we talking about?
You know,
What are we talking about?
how are you going to do that? Are you going to hire them
And
through the public wage, which is already
why-
bloated?
Why is the DA so insistent on putting its foot in its mouth? Like, honestly speaking, if I was a political analyst or strategist, you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was working with the DA, I'd tell them, guys, this thing is not rocket science.
Yeah.
Don't try sell people on something. Just show them what you've done.
Yeah. And that
Show
the
them what you've
DA
done.
is one of the most successful parties in that regard. They've done so much.
Just show the country what you've done.
Yeah.
And another thing, get someone else to write John Steenhuisen's
Speeches. Yeah, no, because I'll tell you.
And tell him, and by the way, tell him to never go off script.
You
You read every last line.
But then do we want a leader like that? But on that point, you know, I watched, he had two addresses. So the one was him announcing the plan, right?
Who's the Steenhuisen?
Steenhuisen.
Okay.
So for the DA campaign, he announced the manifesto or the plan, the rescue plan. On the first address, he announces, so the address starts, and he mentions the ANC, I think 22 times within the first 5 minutes. He mentions the DA 4 times.
See what I mean?
So the focus of their entire campaign has been anti-ANC. Now, yes, you can attract a lot of votes anti-ANC, but the reality is we need to attract those 10 million voters who are voting consistently with the ANC to the DA. Because we want to be the ruling party. You want to achieve 51%. You're not going to do that attracting votes of anti-ANC. You know?
I don't know, but like there's the anti-ANC sentiment is it's palpable, man. There's no way we can.
The future of South Africa.
Sure. What I'm saying is it also would be a mistake to not take note of it.
Yeah, true.
It would be a mistake not to lean into that a little bit, but like
I think we all know it. It's like general knowledge.
Yeah, but
shouldn't be the
let's
focus.
not oversell it.
Yes,
I think it's enough that you mention it.
Yeah,
but then tell us how you're going to fix things moving forward.
You see, like I don't know if you saw Muzi Maimane's advert.
Yes, I did.
Where he's like,
"Hi, Cyril."
Suga. You know that was as much as he mentioned the ANC.
Yes, that's it.
And that was powerful. Everyone loved it.
I love that ad.
Yeah.
I loved that. In fact, the first time I saw it, I was doing the show with Gareth. And I laughed my head off. I thought it was well put together.
Creative.
You can tell that it wasn't overtly expensive. You have to now get B-roll of unfortunate people living in, you know what I mean? Like you don't, that's what I'm saying. And it's pandering with all of this other shit. You get what I mean? But Musi's ad was really good.
Yeah, because you had political parties going into Alex, which they've never been in, taking footage there, giving people t-shirts, walk around with this t-shirt for 5 minutes. We'll give you KFC. And then we're going to use this in our advert for the country, vote for change.
Look, I do not advocate violence, but I wish that some of these people in these neighborhoods would chase these guys away.
No, it did happen actually in a few rural areas where the ANC in Eastern Cape were actually chased out.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, they didn't show it that much. Obviously, the cameras are not going to record and capture those moments. But it did happen where the ANC was chased out. There was actually one, and I'm very critical of the DA.
Yes, sir.
So I think it was the MP Andrew who sent me a message to say, hey, here's a rural community in Eastern Cape, right? The DA is not very strong in Eastern Cape. Here's a rural community. It's about 300 kilometers away from the closest metro. Right. The entire community is willing to vote DA. And I was like, wow. I will repost that, you know?
Yeah.
So it is possible that the ANC is getting kicked out of a lot of rural areas that it used to
be
very strong.
As they should.
And that's the sentiment. You can kind of see people are not willing to listen to the change that, hey, you're going to bring free water. We've been waiting. Some people in this country have waited 30 years for free water.
Yep.
They still don't have it today.
There's still long job toilets.
Yeah. So they are tired of voting ANC, and I think we're going to see that in the results of the election. So we'll wait and see. So
one of our team members, Miss Jane Malachi, by the way, if you're following us on social media platforms, and if you're not, I suggest you do. There's this really cool thing that she does. It's called Jane Walking, and she's been talking to, as we say, everyday South Africans. And we are not as uneducated as some people would have you believe.
I hate when people say we are smarter than the generation that voted in 1994.
There you go. So she was out and about hitting the streets. So one of, in fact, she was telling me that in her area, they didn't have water for about 7 days. And then when the water came back, believe it or not, they were told, don't drink the water. You can do whatever you want with it, just don't drink it.
Yeah. Even in my area, they're still telling us not to drink the water.
And so it's I don't think anyone needs any more motivation to know that we are on the precipice of
collapse.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
So we can change that today.
We can.
I mean, we're not waiting for voting day tomorrow.
No.
It's today. You literally need to take your ID, go there, get your 3 ballots, and tick something other than ANC.
Speaking of ballots, let's talk about it, bro. Let's get into it. Look at that on your screen.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
See how long that thing is.
Look, it is long.
It is unbelievably long.
But like I'm saying, there are some parties that are genuinely not serious. I hate to de-campaign anyone, but someone like Hlodi Matsoneng's party, the African Content Movement, he's not looking at changing South Africa. He's looking at getting a seat. And we got to be honest here. If you get a seat in provincial legislature, you're looking at a 1.2 million rand annual salary before benefits.
Yeah.
That is in the 1% of South Africa.
Yep.
99% of us, I know you and me will not see that salary this year.
No.
Right? But the MPs and the MPLs will see that salary this year. So MPs, it goes a little bit further. It's 1.3 per annum. So we got to understand, besides fighting for the country, these guys are also getting a big paycheck.
Yes, they are.
To do it. Okay. And I would argue that needs to be cut by maybe
half,
66%.
Oh, yeah. So you are more than half. Okay, good.
I would say, and I'm comfortable because I'm going to be running in 2029.
Yeah, and I'm going to be your running mate. Don't worry, we're doing it. We're doing it.
Basically, I would be happy to do a job of an MP on 350,000 rand. You got to understand, these guys.
You're saying that per annum.
Per annum.
Okay.
350,000 rand. I'm happy to do that job. It is not to make you rich. Being an MP shouldn't make you rich.
It shouldn't.
And yet it is.
And we've been told how they're going to do these lifestyle audits, but it never seems to happen. You know,
even
it's crazy.
If they do it, they're going to convince us that owning a Merc, a GLS, let's say a GLS 500, is necessary for them to be providing services in the country.
Listen.
You remember how they you remember
Bajaj.
I'll agree with you.
Give you Bajaj. In fact, it will be so nice. We'll add airbags into Bajaj, and you drive around.
Does the thing not have airbags?
I don't know. I'm assuming.
Need to check, huh?
Congo Chris giving us a bit of an update as to what's happening on the streets. Queues are already crazy. I love that.
Yeah,
love that.
I saw some people queuing at 5 a.m. in Soweto.
Yeah.
Some people in Sandton and Fourways were queuing from 6:30. They had their coffees in hand.
Yep.
If you go on Twitter, guys, the country is voting. Don't feel like you are left out, like it doesn't matter. Your vote doesn't count. Every vote counts.
It does.
As someone who has set and counted votes till 3 a.m. in the morning, in the last election, I can tell you every vote does count. Even one vote for a party.
Yeah, and by the way, don't believe none of this bullshit that these people are trying to feed you that the IEC is somehow compromised. Have you noticed, like, there's this whole rigging of votes and what all of a sudden, don't buy into that nonsense.
You've been to the Rock. You're going there today.
Yes, I would like to.
And tomorrow, I think you guys.
I would love to go. Unfortunately, we didn't get the media accreditation, but that doesn't stop me from going there nonetheless.
Yeah, look, you can go figure it out. And you can speak to Sai, and he'll get you in.
Yes,
any South African can go there. You just can't you can't just demand to go
be
in.
There. Yeah, definitely.
You ask nicely,
but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
You.
Congo Chris says, enjoy the last day of electricity, guys. This has been a running joke for a while now, but look, Roman reassured me that we'll be fine.
I will give you a reassurance as well, because I speak to at least 6 senior people in Eskom, including in the board, and all of them have a consistent message that things are better at Eskom. We might have load shedding during the winter season, might go up to stage 2. So they are all consistent on saying things have changed.
Okay.
They've done a lot of changes. There's a lot more power. There's a lot more. So what they call it is an energy availability factor, EAF factor, that has moved. In the last 5 years, we haven't seen it. During the Director's tenure,
Yeah.
we were lucky to see over 70%. We are now over 70%.
Sounds good to me.
So it's good. But on the contrast of that, I must be honest, even though I speak to these amazing people and they give me information and I don't broadcast the information they give me. So that's why there's a level of trust.
Yeah.
But having said that, having the inside knowledge of ESCOM and all the great work that they actually are doing there and that the minister's doing and that everyone's enabling, there is the other side where they recently passed, rules to allow stage 16 load shedding. Now, I can't even understand 16 load shedding.
That doesn't make sense to me
Are
either.
you going to come switch off my candles or what are you going to do? But it has been put forward and they've made plans for stage 16 load shedding. In my opinion, stage 8 already is a complete grid collapse. Other countries have suffered grid collapses. Nigeria was the most recent, and their grid collapse lasted 3 days before they could switch things on. So I think if we get to stage 8, we must admit already that we failed.
Yes. Completely. And you know what's interesting? So when I lived in Pretoria, I lived in Arcadia.
Oh, nice place.
And the building I lived in was right across the street from the National Energy Regulator of South Africa.
Oh, no.
Do you know what's crazy, Xavier?
Yeah.
In the year and a half that I lived there, didn't get load shedding not once.
There are pockets.
There
are certain pockets where they do not get. So I know of a company. I'm not going to say the name.
By the way, let's not snitch because
I'm not going to say
some people are going to start complaining. But I'm just saying, like across the street from the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, that block, because I mean it's down the street from Union Buildings as well, but that block, no load
I'll tell you something funny.
That is a myth.
Yeah, I'll tell you something funny. Bronkhorstspruit. Okay? It's about 1 hour out from us. Okay, not completely rural, but they are rural. I love that place.
Yeah,
my father stayed there for over a year, and he was there during the worst of load shedding when I was getting load shed 3 times a day.
He got nothing.
The reason they did it is because that place is so rural, it's hard to replace cables. Whenever they had load shedding, the guys would steal the cables. Then they had to replace the cables. It takes longer. So ESCOM and the Bronkhorstspruit municipality came to an agreement, no load shedding, so that they wouldn't have to replace the cables.
You know what? You're going to make me mad. But anyway, Snai actually saw one of the videos that Jane did.
And she says,
yes. One of the videos I saw, the lady who was shooting the video said, if I had dogs, I would unleash them right now. Leave. She was saying this to ANC campaigners, and this was in a squad camp. Oh, she's talking about the Eastern Cape situation.
Yeah, so
that is lovely.
It happened in Alex as well.
That is lovely.
In Soweto as well. There were situations where the ANC, EFF even were chased out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. I think after that shooting incident in Limpopo, between where the young girl was shot and the ANC, and the funny thing is that guy was previously EFF, now he's ANC. So they were fighting, and then shots went off.
Some child got killed. I mean, like, why would you do that?
After that, the community refused to have ANC or EFF in that area. So both of them lost their campaigning opportunities. So it's interesting. A lot of South Africans are really hurtful of these parties and their promises and their nonsense. And I think we're going to see that in the results after tomorrow.
Okay, man. So let's get into those 3 ballots really quickly because we need to wrap up the show in a couple of minutes. So as we all know, we are going to be given 3 ballot papers today.
A blue one, an orange one, and a pink one. It's very important you remember the differences.
Right. You are going to educate us now. So the national ballot should be straightforward.
Yeah,
that's the blue one.
And don't be misled into thinking you're voting for the president. You're not voting for the president. You're voting for parties to have representation on 200 seats.
Yes.
In parliament. In total, there's 400 seats in parliament, but this ballot only allows for representation of the first 200 seats.
There you go.
Now, on that point, right, when you vote on that ballot, you're giving your party more seats, more power inside parliament to pass bills like the NHI or repeal bills like the NHI and BEE. So if you don't like those...
And sorry to jump in there, but Congo Chris makes a good point. He says that we should cut the MP's pay to fund NHI. I love that idea.
He's
Colonel
right,
Chris.
because those guys don't actually use private healthcare.
They don't
no,
use
they
public
use the
healthcare.
public healthcare.
Yeah.
Private they do use.
Yes.
They even go as far as Russia. Anyway, so the national ballot is going to give you your parliament representation for your
Yes, sir.
party. If you have issues like you want a free, independent Western Cape, you're going to vote for someone like RP because they would do that in parliament.
Correct.
Or provincial.
Mhm.
Then you've got the regional ballot. This is the one that's confusing everyone.
Yes.
Okay, so
because everyone wants to find out the difference between regional and provincial.
provincial.
What the hell does that mean?
So basically, your regional ballot, the remaining 200 seats in parliament, right? You're going to decide on the regional ballot who's going to represent your region. Okay? So that might be GP in our case, because you and I are in GP. That is the only ballot that the independents can go for that will get them in parliament.
There you go.
Now, the interesting thing on that, Jack, is even if a independent like Blessings Ramamboa, if he gets 4 million votes, he still gets one seat.
With 4 million votes?
With 4 million votes, he'll only get one seat. So
See,
the independents will only get that. But if a party gets 4 million votes, they get seats according to the proportion.
Right. But you can understand why there's a bit of confusion, right?
100%.
Okay.
So your regional, now how it's supposed to work, how it was always supposed to work since 1994, is that you were able, in Joburg, you had an issue that's affecting you. The mayor's not listening to you. The premier's not listening to you. You could then contact your MP in parliament who has your constituency. Most South Africans are not unaware of this process.
Yeah.
That there's an MP that should be visiting your area to contact you and have a day where he communicates with you what's happening. Yeah, he or she is communicating with you what's happening in parliament and what he needs to tackle in parliament on your behalf.
Right.
Most people don't know this. Most people don't know that.
Let's educate ourselves.
Now they've changed it. You're going to elect someone that you can see, and he's going to be responsible for your
And they
region.
must come back and answer your questions.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we've got one more.
The provincial, if you look at it, the easiest way to explain provincial legislature is that it's a mini parliament for each province. So they can't fix the issues that are local government related. So they can't remove Kabelo, Kwamnanda from Joburg, unfortunately.
Right.
But the premier can pressure him to fix the city. So it's very important we have a premier. If you want service delivery, the pink ballot, the provincial one, is the most important for you.
That is
the most important, because the government, the provincial government handles your roads, handles your development. It handles how many hospitals are in the province. All your provincial rules like the speed limits, etc. That is provincial government.
There you go.
So it's a very important ballot. Make the right decision on that ballot. And you don't have to pick one party on each. If you do, it gives them more power. It's great.
But you can split your ballot. It's okay.
But you can. And there's nothing wrong with splitting your ballot.
No. I'm splitting my ballot. That's for damn sure.
I'm splitting my ballots. But, it's important to understand which parties are capable in certain ways. For example, you can call the DA racist. You can call the DA whatever. But where they govern in local government and in provincial government, there is definite change. For example, in Johannesburg, we don't have a My City bus. But in Tshwane, there is a My City bus. They call it, I forgot what they call it, but I used it last week. And it's an amazing system. Right. I wish we had it in Joburg, but we don't.
We don't. Look, guys, it's 9. We need to go out.
Yeah, I'm going to go vote.
Our ballots. You know what I mean? We need to go vote.
And please, I hope you guys are voting as well.
Yes. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Thank you so much for hanging out right here on the podcast party. This was a live special edition for the elections this year. I'm hoping that we can bring about some change, man. I'm
confident we are.
I genuinely believe in this country, and all of these polls that seemingly have the ANC somewhere, within 40%, the 40 or 50%. Listen, I hope you're completely wrong. I usually trust statistics and all of this time, but this time around, I think you are wrong. And I know South Africans are going to prove me right. Listen, go out there, make your mark. Thank you so much for hanging out. Follow us on all our social media platforms. And Xavier, bro, thank you so much for hanging out. This was very fun, man.
I hope we've inspired some people to vote.
Man.
There's 27.6 million people that are registered to vote. Obviously, if you don't go to the right voting station, and to check your voting station, just go on the IEC website.
Check it out. Yeah.
Put your ID in there. It will give you the voting station. You saw some people are flying to get to their voting station. So if you have to drive for an hour, it's a small sacrifice. The stations close at 9 p.m.
9 p.m. There you go.
Make a plan.
Andre, you just asked Andre van der Walt. There you go, brother. You've got up until 9 p.m. this evening to cast your vote. Listen, thank you so much for hanging out. Just another cool kid here, or should I say Jack Motlanthe. We will catch you tomorrow morning. Burning Platform from 6 a.m. with Gareth Cliff and Pumi. Thank you so much for hanging out. Congo, Chris, check you, buddy.